I want to say good evening and welcome to this special interview.
Thank you very much.
Firstly, how are you?
I am doing fine.
Wonderful. That today the United Department of Treasury statement sanctioning 3 government officials. Minister for State for Presidential Affairs Nathaniel McGill, Liberia Solicitor General Simas Serena Sifo, and the National Food Authority Managing Director Bill Trari. What do you make of this news coming from the United States Treasury Department, sir?
Well, we first of all want to thank the Liberian people and all advocates and political parties, particularly the National Democratic Coalition and the Democratic Alliance of Liberia, and all opposition parties that have been advocating against corruption and the misuse of our economy in Liberia. We do applaud the decision and stance taken by the United States government to levy these sanctions against corrupt government officials. And we hope that the government of the United States will continue to support the aims and aspirations of the Liberian people against corruption and malpractices in government.
With this news emerging, what do you think this news means for the Liberian people?
Well, these sanctions imposed by the United States government on the named corrupt government officials of Liberia sends a very strong message that, one, the United States and the international community and our friendly partners are listening to the cries of the Liberian people for social economic justice and pluralistic democracy. It also sends a very bold signal to the Liberian government under the leadership of President George Weah, that the international community is looking at this government and has been looking at this government very keenly in terms of its human rights abuses, corrupt practices, destruction of the economy, misuse of government funds, and misuse of funds deposited by international community into our Federal Reserve accounts. What I may term Federal Reserve account into our national banking system. So this is a wake-up. It should be a wake-up call for the government, and that nothing they do against the Liberian people will go unpunished.
President Weah took over when he got elected in 2017. One of his strong messages was the issue of corruption, calling on government officials to do away with corruption. Now that the United States Department of Treasury have come up with names of corrupt government officials, what's your call now to President Weah as it relates to this sanction issue here?
President Weah himself needs to look out, for he will be next in line for sanctions. It is quite clear that the government is corrupt. It is quite clear that President Weah himself, through his lieutenants, are all involved in corruption. These are not hidden secrets. These are very open practices of this current government that the world is witnessing and the Liberian people have been crying about. And so it is left with President Weah to immediately shake up his government, immediately return all stolen property and stolen monies, and immediately call for the dismissal or call for the resignation of all government officials that have been sanctioned in the past during his administration and presently during this time.
when the news came out about sanction of government official, many Liberians thought that this particular issue could hinder President Weah's visit to the United States of America. But the U.S. ambassador to Liberia has clarified that this has nothing to do with President Weah's visit to the United States.
Well, the international community has heard the cries of the Liberian people against this corrupt government and the brutality as well as human rights abuses it has meted out against the population and peaceful citizens. It is left with the international community to act and levy whatever sanctions or whatever punishment it has for this government, whether preventing it from going to international conferences, preventing it from attending particular invitations extended by the U.S. government, or sanctioning the entire government. It's all left with the international partners to make those decisions. And so we do sincerely welcome this particular action. As we said, it stands as a warning.
But apart from the names that were being mentioned by the U.S. Government, do you still think there are other names that will emerge after the names that were mentioned today?
Well, certainly, there is wide-scale corruption being practiced by members and officials of the present Weah government. And so the U.S. government and other international partners act in their own way, according to their own time, as we don't dictate to them. But we see definitely that this is a signal, a very bold signal, and there are more to follow. There will be other sanctions coming up. When the first sanctions were levied on people in the legislature of our country, some people never thought that there would be additional sanctions levied. And thanks to the mobilization and advocacy of all of the groups, the social advocacy groups and opposition political parties, including the National Democratic Coalition, which is now spearheading the formation of the DAL, that the U.S. government was able to come out with additional sanctions. There are still more to come, and we should watch out. The government of Liberia and officials who are involved with corruption know themselves. Those government officials of Liberia who we have named as being people destroying the economy of this country are also known. And so we think that there will be more to follow.
Some citizens we have spoken to today, they have said that it's better that government officials steal money in the country and invest it in the same country instead of other people who take the resources and carry out into another country. That's a point of argument.
There can be no justification for stealing the people's money. There can be no ratification for stealing the country's money that does not belong to any government official. This is public money. These are public funds. And so
they are saying the money is not leaving the country. It's being used in the country. It's being invested in the country. Like other people who take the money, travel with the money to other countries.
Well, according to evidence available through video and audio, as you all have already seen, during a recent event, the currently sanctioned, economically sanctioned Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Natalia McGill, made this justification that they're stealing the money and it was being used in the country and not taken out. And we are saying that there is no justification for stealing the country's money. Whether you are using it here in Liberia or you are using it wherever, there is just no justification for stealing the country's money. And these things have consequences. They thought that it will go untouched, But now we are seeing the actions that the Liberian people have called for and the actions that the international community has taken and the actions that the international community will continue to take against these corrupt officials who think that they are untouchable.
What kind of action, if you were asked to maybe recommend that should be taken by those sanctioned officials? Just immediately after the official was sanctioned, the Unity Party released a press statement, strong press statement, calling on the government to dismiss those corrupt government officials. So the angle of the NDC, I know you're gonna come with your own press release, but if you are asked to maybe do a recommendation, what would that recommendation be as it relates to the sanction of government officials?
I believe I stated that earlier in my previous response that such government officials need to be immediately dismissed from their positions, or the president alternatively can call for their immediate resignation, which means, of course, they will not hold their government positions anymore. The next thing is that they should be indicted and prosecuted, and they should return all the stolen money. So these are, among others, the recommendations. The National Democratic Coalition has already issued a statement, and it will be circulated soon. If it has not already been circulated, it will be circulated soon. We issued a statement earlier.
Do you see this as a warning to other Liberians who are taking or who want to take upon the government offices or public offices in our country? Do you see this?
You see today that government officials who have practically nothing come to power, and after 3 months they build big houses. They ride the most luxurious of cars in a country that does not even have the kind of streets that those cars are riding on in the developed world. And the people are left hungry. The people are left with no jobs. The people, their children are left with dilapidated and substandard schools to go to. The hospitals are dilapidated and have no medications, have substandard medications, no good medical service. There are a lot of socio-economic degradation. In the midst of that, the sufferings of the Liberian people, you have these government officials dividing money, the country's money, both in the legislature and in other places. And so this is a stern warning. And for those legislatures who are receiving these bribes that are coming from the executive, they should watch out also that sanctions are also coming upon them.
Yeah, just before I leave you, that in our country now, there are so many people who want to venture into politics. If you just have a child growing up in the community and you ask that particular child who you want to be, that child going to say, I want to become a politician. The politics of the political shape in our country has changed. People have to lie, until to the electorate before they get elected. People have to distribute money. There are so many wrongs in the political spheres of our country. What do you think are responsible for some of those things happening in our country?
There certainly has to be a paradigm shift in our country's psychic because of the stolen wealth, because of the long year of civil war that was fought, and through that people accumulated wealth in the most wrongful manner and are utilizing this wealth as a violence against our people to get elected. There must be a paradigm shift. We have to continue to advocate and educate our people that you need good education. You need a good profession to become successful in life. You can become an agriculturalist. You can become a medical doctor. You can become a nurse. You don't necessarily have to be a politician. But because these politicians use that to steal wealth, amass wealth, and make themselves to be flamboyant and powerful, that seems to be a sign in a society and to our young people that the only way you can succeed in life is going into politics and stealing the people's money and using the people's money against the people's interest itself. So these are things that we have to work against. These are the kind of tendencies that we have to advocate against and teach our people the decency of life. That is why during the coming elections, our people have to vote for the right people, people who have proven to be decent in our society, who have integrity, and who have delivered to them the good things that our society needs, even from their individual efforts, and not people who come into government to steal and then use the money against our own people's interest. And so this has to be a message that we have to continue to send to our people. There has to be this paradigm shift in our nation's psyche so that our young people understand what decency means in life and not being a rogue who steals government money and enjoy it while the people suffer.
One of the problems, Liberia have is most of the politicians in the opposition have maybe one-time serving government, and they have performed poorly. So it's just the issue of recycling around. So there's nothing new that they're going to bring on board. Most of the people we have spoken to in Liberia, that's why they tell us that those people are just recycled politicians because they have worked before in government, they have performed poorly, and coming again to take over the country, that's going to be another issue.
During the coming
you haven't worked before in government. I'm not aware of that.
Well, thank you very much for that clarification. Certainly, I've never worked in government, but I've served the country throughout my lifespan. In terms of, at the time I'm able to serve our country, from the age at which I was able to serve our country professionally and otherwise through advocacy, and through my professional skills in science, medicine, and technology, through education, etc., etc. You have people in government who just go into government just to steal, and they have been going into government over and over and again. We have certain examples of that in our present government. These people come from one government, the Taylor's government. Let's just put it back in the last 20 years. There are people who are in the Taylor's government corrupted. They came into the interim governments, those transitional governments. They also corrupted. They came into the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. They corrupted. And now they want to come. They came into the Weah's government. They are corrupt again. And then they want to come in the next government. These are people we know. These are people we must single out. We have to call them by their names. And you, the press people, will help the society in being very critical of these kind of tendencies, just so that collectively we can stamp them out of our societal mainstream, or out of our governance system, out of our economic system. If you want to be rich, go into the private sector. And that is why you need a good government that will sit in and create the fertile condition for the private sector to thrive. So that if you want to be rich and you are in the private sector, you have your business, boom, good for you. You can become rich if you want, but not coming into government and stealing the government's money and amassing all of the wealth while the people suffer. No schools, no good hospitals, and no jobs for the people to do. These are simple things that our country can accomplish. Our country has accomplished these things before in the past, and we can do it again. But we need a patriotic, visionary leadership in our country that will move this country forward. So come 2023, kick these rogues out.
Come 2023, people, Rosa. God, finally, just before I take leave of you, another thing to be at the ask quickly you want to help Liberian.
Well, I want to continuously thank you, Brush FM and Bana FM, you said again, for the interviews. This is very helpful for our people, so that our people and the international community will know that they are patriotic citizens in our country. They are patriotic professional citizens in our country, people who are not just professional politicians that want to recycle themselves only for purpose of stealing money. So our people must know that we are professional people who are into advocacy and into politics. And we will not leave our politics to these rotten politicians to destroy our country any further. We are engaged and we look for your support. Look out for announcements and pronouncements of the Democratic Alliance of Liberia, the coalition that is bringing together almost all of the major political parties so that we can form a united, formidable front during the 2023 elections, presidential as well as legislative elections, in order to put in a visionary, patriotic leadership that will lead our country to national prosperity and international respect. Thank you very much.
Okay, Doc, thank you so kindly. Like I always say, you are a blessing to our country, and we will always call upon you to provide sensitive information to our people, so that some of those ills in society can be stopped. Thank you so much, Dad, and I truly appreciate you for always taking your time to speak with us.
My pleasure, Jerry, and thanks to your broadcast team for always calling upon us.
Okay, he is Dr. Dougbeh Chris Nyan from the United States of America. He is the Vice Chair for International Affairs, the National Democratic Coalition. So, bye-bye for coming.